Frazier Friday. No crats. Enter Ross Stripling.
Yeah.
What's up, Strip? Good to see
What's
you,
up,
man.
guys?
How you been? What have you been up
Good
to?
to be back, man. First time of 2026. Let's do it.
Let's do it, dude. What have you been up to? Do you miss it at all? You having fun, living a new life?
Yeah, I miss all the stuff that, anybody misses even 20 years later. Just being around the guys, being in the locker room, all that kind of stuff for sure. You guys saw two of my kids in the pre-show. I got three of them, three boys, so they're keeping me plenty busy, kind of keeping the real world at bay here for a little bit where I can pop in and do things like this with you guys as I try and decide, do I stay in the game? And if I do, in what aspect? A year into retirement, still don't know anything more than I did a year ago, but I'm doing good, man. It's fun doing stuff like this, talking ball. It's good to be back.
Nice. It's good to see you, dude. Yeah, looking at some accolades for Strip. Nice long career. And a lot of guys that you're buddies with that are still kicking it in the big league. So I want to get your thoughts throughout. Good guest list today. So let's jump right to it. Let's charge.
Mm-hmm.
Charging the mound.
All right, some fans are going to complain, but we're hitting the NL East again. Why? We're going to start with the positive side of things. JR Ritchie debuts for the Braves, and the first pitch didn't go well for him. That was turned into a James Wood home run, but then the rest worked out quite well for Mr. Ritchie in a win for one of the best-looking teams in baseball right now, the Atlanta Braves. It's funny, Todd Father, if I told you the Atlanta Braves have a ton of pitching injuries and Ronald Acuna and Austin Riley are off to slow starts, you'd be like, the Braves are in trouble. Instead, yeah, Richie's one of the better prospects in the sport. I think Baseball America had him ranked 73 or something like that. Seven strong innings for him. And the pitching coach, Jeremy Hefner, for the Braves is loving life right now as he came over from the Mets. Mets fired him. And the Braves are thriving. They're in first place. The Phillies are a mess right now. And the Mets now have won a couple in a row. But what do you think about Atlanta?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. Like, you would think if this is kind of opportunity that the Braves have, they'd be in the Mets and Phillies shoes right now. But, I think it's fantastic. With Chris Sale at the helm, they're playing together. They got two of their big guns that aren't really doing much. That shows you a sign of a good team, in my opinion. And when they eventually do well, yeah, somebody else is going to trickle down and, the numbers are going to come back to where they need to be. But, ultimately, let's start with JR Ritchie. Fantastic. He could have folded like a tent. First pitch, homer in the big leagues. That was like, okay, welcome to the show. And then he went 7 innings and, got the win. Gave up another home run, which was another pitch that was left over the plate, a little changeup. He looked great. His off-speed looked great. His fastball, not overpowering, but zoning, picking out spots. I know Strip can talk more about that, but at the same token, fantastic. This is a guy you want on your squad. He looked impressive. He didn't get down on himself after the first pitch of the game. He was stoic. And, for a first outing, he should be excited for these next 4 days to kind of breathe a little bit. And I know Harris was the guy that got injured around in second base going to third. So we'll see how that goes. But the Braves are winning right now, and they're winning at the right time because the Phillies stink. The Mets stink, and they're finding ways to get up higher in the rankings, and good for them.
Yeah, what do you think, Strip?
It's more of the same from the Braves, man. I mean, depth getting tested here early, and each guy just keeps stepping up. I saw they haven't lost a series yet. They're 7-0-1 to start their 2026 campaign. Haven't lost a series. And like you said, Todd, I mean, just creating space between the Mets and the Phillies, the two teams that were supposed to compete at the top of that division. And all of a sudden they're down there 9-16, 8-17 below the Colorado Rockies in the wild card. So, kudos to the Braves, man, for creating space in the standings here early, giving themselves a little cushion when they're not fully healthy. And it's been impressive, man. I don't think this was on anybody's radar. We knew they were talented. They're not that far removed from like a World Series run and some really good teams, but have, taken a step back last year. Well, they're back to the Atlanta Braves that we're used to. And then I don't see them slowing down. I think they're here and they're for real.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, like, people are like, oh, it's 9.5 games. Phillies, Mets, 8.5, 9. That is a heck of a ton of games to come back. There's got to be a lot of good things that happen. Sure, can they come back? It's only 25 games, into the season. But understand something. A lot of things got to go right and got to go their way. They need to eventually break off like a 10-2 or a 15-4 kind of run to get back in the mix of things. And it's going to be very hard with how these teams are and all the pickups that a lot of these teams got, because there was a lot of movement this offseason. A lot of teams were not afraid to buy. And Scotty, we've talked about this numerous times. So, this is the Nationals, Mets, and Phillies. You guys are way out of whack here. So keep on fighting. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, ultimately that is a lot of games.
Yeah, Spencer Strider's working his way back too and looked good the other day in a rehab assignment, and he was playing catch with Sean Murphy. Murphy was his catcher, so you're going to get those two coming back at some point. Ha-Sung Kim was an offseason signing for them. He'll come back at some point. They're going to eventually be pretty deep. Most of these injuries are not full season injuries, so they're going to eventually be in a pretty good spot where they're going to have a lot of depth. I mean, you look at this lineup right now, Strip, if you're trying to navigate things, I mentioned Acuna is still Acuna. He's just not at the MVP level right now in the first few weeks of the season with the production. Drake Baldwin is the rookie of the year from last year. He's been insane. Matt Olson's off to a super, super hot start. Albies looks much, much better than he did last year. So does Harris. Those two guys last year in the first half of the season were super, super uncharacteristic from what we had seen in the past. They both rebounded a little bit, especially Harris in the second half when he made some changes. Dom Smith has been a nice pickup for them. I mean, you go down this whole lineup, there's really not much that you're concerned about right now. It's like the two guys that are starting slow, that are going to come around. Mike Yastrzemski, a little bit of a slow start in a new spot. I think he'll be fine. And then Dubon's been great for them as a pickup that can play everywhere for now, mostly playing shortstop, but eventually when King comes back, he can go everywhere. So you got to really like this team position player wise, and they can probably add an arm or two at the deadline.
Well, there's just there's no let up, right? I mean, it's you got Yastrzemski down there probably in the 9-hole as a righty killer. I've faced him plenty of times and been his teammate as well. He hammers changeups, and I would still throw it to him for some reason. He would still hammer it. So you got guys like that getting on base at the bottom of the lineup and then turn it over to the Acuñas and the Albies of the world, and you're just like, man, there's nowhere where I can take my foot off the accelerator a little bit and maybe get a free out. And anytime you're facing a lineup that's deep 1 through 9. You got a tall task ahead of you, and that's their lineup right now. Like Dom Smith, what you said, just an amazing pickup, probably a non-roster invitee, if I were to remember, and makes the team and is, like a 900-plus OPS guy to start the season. It's just they're firing on all cylinders, man. So if you're a pitcher, you got to be on your A game.
So let's get to the other side. So this weekend, it's the Phillies and Braves matching up, and there's some highlights. I mean, you get to see Andrew Painter, who's only several starts into his career, but then Zach Wheeler makes his season debut on Saturday. Chris Sale's going to pitch for Atlanta on Sunday. What are you thinking about Philadelphia right now?
Well, I'm thinking Christopher Sanchez. What is going on?
Right?
I think, you look at the numbers. He's averaging or giving up 9 hits for his last 4 games. Kind of looked flat. I watched a little bit of that game yesterday. Some of the curveball looked a little flat, the changeup. Fastball got hit around a little bit. And listen, pitchers are like hitters. They all go through little funks. Do I think he'll be fine? Yes, but ultimately you only play every 5th day. So it's got to be wearing on you a little bit. And that's the difference between hitting and pitching, because we can come back the next day, as Strip understands too. But yeah, I like that Wheeler's coming back. I think he's going to help tremendously. I saw his outing. I saw a couple highlights of his. The curveball was looking good. Schwarber said it best yesterday after. He's like, listen, if we're going to put up runs like this and battle like this, ultimately we're going to be just fine. But, that's one game. They got to keep this going. They have a lot of veteran presence, which need to step up a little bit and turn this thing around.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think if you're talking Phillies and Mets, I just would bet on the Phillies' experience and their playoff kind of tenure over the last few years as far as being able to turn this thing around. The Mets, for all the talent they have, they just feel like they have a hard time staying in a straight line, moving in the right direction, right? You go get Bichette, you go get Simeon, and it just seems like they're always just kind of like going on these streaks, versus the Phillies would be the one I would bet on. The one thing that you mentioned, Todd, that worries me is there's already so much space between the top there. Well, the Nationals and the Marlins are in the middle of them, and they're playing okay. So it's not like the Rockies, where the Padres and the Dodgers are just going to beat up on them, and that's going to be 10 wins throughout the year. I think the Marlins and the Nationals are going to play those guys tight and play them well. So those aren't just like W's that you can check off the calendar saying we're going to catch up to the Braves here. They got to, like you said, they got to go on a streak and beat good teams and get back to playing good Phillies, good Mets baseball if they're going to catch up to Atlanta.
With Philly, it's not even like they're dealing with so many injuries to their position player group. I know Duran's out right now of the 9th inning. Real Muto just went down the other day, although it sounds like it'll just be the minimum stay for him, and then Wheeler's working his way back. Not much else. There's a few teams you look at where you go, Houston, tons of injuries. You're missing half the rotation. If you want to try and make an excuse when you're being a prognosticator, okay. With Philly, I mean, you look at the lineup. It's most of the guys you're going to see there the entire year. It's just not doing much. And the rookie Reyes jumps into the cleanup spot after one game in his big league career, right? They tried to mix it up the other day. They put Schwarber in left field at Wrigley, not as much field to deal with, but that didn't work for them either. So the lineup is kind of stale right now.
Yeah, and I think, ultimately, I'm going back and forth a little bit, but with Philly, I think, the issue is, I said this before, they're playing against teams that added. They had so many additions. These teams, 3 or 4 guys that have either been there before or that can pitch. Pitching has been tremendous from all these teams. And guess what? When these teams like the Cubs, who are, good team, you play the Pirates, you play these teams where all lackadaisical, the Nationals, the Marlins, they are coming to play. Strip said it best. These teams have acquisitions that can play the game of baseball. Now you look on the flip side of the Mets. I saw the other day, I'm watching a little bit before the game, they got guys playing positions that they've never played before. We'll just stick this guy here. Well, again, what happened to trying to sign back Pete Alonso? Why are you trading Brandon Nimmo? Jeff McNeil, it can be a 275, 300 hitter. They got guys, Edwin Diaz, you didn't find a way to get him. They blamed it all on these guys for not getting them back to the promised land. Oh, it's stale. It's the same. Oh, it's going to be the same thing. They're really good players, and they are missing them tremendously right now.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about them this week, and they did pick up back-to-back wins. It wasn't pretty yesterday, but it got the job done.
I was after my Little League game. We go to a new restaurant down the street, Tommy's.
Yeah,
and packed house. We got basketball, we got baseball, we got the draft, and my son's watching. He's like, "Yeah, we'll get this out." Boom, grand slam, and you hear like a sigh in there. I'm like, I didn't know there was this many Mets fans in this bar right now. It was I was kind of laughing a little bit at the same time. Somebody threw his napkin in the air. I'm like, oh,
really?
God,
on the grand slam?
Oh, yeah. It was bad. I'm like, there they go. My son's like, oh, God, Dad, what are we going to do? I'm
the
like,
offense showed up, though.
Be a Yankee fan. That's what I told him.
Right. You played for both teams. You could be a Yankee fan, son. The offense showed up for them, though, at least in one game, putting up double-digit runs.
That was nice what Bichette did at the end.
Yeah. I mean, that's the guy I'd probably be least concerned about. He's a hits machine. As long as he's healthy, Bo Bichette's been one of the most consistent players.
And people are like, oh, he had a slow start. It was like 7-8 games.
Yeah.
Relax. He's going to be just fine. He's batting over 240 now. He's good. He'll get there.
I've seen that one firsthand a couple years in Toronto. What he can do is, like, if he's not slugging or maybe doing as much damage as he wants, he's so good bat to ball, he'll just start peppering singles through that 4-hole, and that average will just creep right up. He's If as far as anyone that I'm worried about hitting, Bo Bichette is not on that list.
Right. Yeah, he's prime years too. I mean, this is what's Bo right now, 28 years old. Like, we never know exactly, or sometimes we don't know exactly if there's any other kind of issues. I know he had some injuries last year, but as long as he's feeling good, Strip, I would not be concerned about that one. And that was a guy that the Phillies wanted too, and I thought that would have made things interesting if they picked him up, just to add a little spice to the lineup, a little more consistency, guys that can get on base, put knocks together, and not be so reliant on Schwarber, Harper, and Turner when he's feeling good.
Yep. Exactly. I'm sure he had plenty of suitors, man. I bet he was fielding calls left and right, and obviously got the money he got to go in there and hit. So, you see it right there on your screen. Not having a great last 10 games, but he has been streaky over his career, and he's one of those guys, when he's hot, you almost pitch around him, and he still might hit the ball in the other batter's box for a single over the second baseman. I mean, he's just he's got that good bat to ball skills. So, yeah, I'll sit here all day and harp on how good of a hitter I think Bo Bichette is.
Yep. All right, so that's your little NL East report. We'll get to plenty of other teams and some matchups for the weekend. We'll do a little bit of that actually in the break for the YouTube crowd. We'll say bye for 3 minutes to TV group and then come back with Pitching Ninja. Hey, SeatGeek's got the code still running for everyone. That is Territory 10 for 10% off of any tickets with that promo code. So let's have a look at the weekend for a couple minutes here and some matchups that we like. Todd Father, I'm looking at Saturday. If we're looking from a pitching perspective, so first off, Yankees just swept the Red Sox. Boston's got to get going too, man.
My goodness.
Boston's 9-16. I know it's early, but the AL East is going to be very competitive, and this is a divisional matchup. Saturday, Crochet with a 7.88 ERA going up against Trevor Rogers. That's a good one.
That's very good.
I would get a ticket for that bad boy.
Listen, the ticket, I don't like flying too much, but I'll go to LA and see the Cubs versus Dodgers.
Ooh.
I mean, that seems like a little back and forth action. I think I'm going to get on that flight.
Okay.
Sure.
I'd fly down to Atlanta to see Wheeler. Wheeler's from Georgia, make his debut. That's a good one there. So you've also got the Pirates and Brewers matching up this weekend, and the Pirates playing pretty well. Of course, Milwaukee has the Miz on Saturday going up against Mitch Keller. So, yeah, a lot of good names to check out. SeatGeek can hook you up with a little bit of help too. So the code for you, again, is Territory10. That's for 10% off any tickets at SeatGeek. Go get the app right now and make sure you click the link in the description to download it and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you to SeatGeek. Swinging right back here for a second. Ross, any early observations? We're going to get into this with Pitching Ninja coming up in 1 minute. We got 1 minute until we're back from break. But guys that you either think have looked ridiculous to start the year, or on the other side, like I mentioned, Garrett Crochet not off to a great start. But, I mean, maybe like a mile an hour down. But otherwise, like the stuff looks pretty similar to what it did in the past.
Yeah, Crochet's the low-hanging fruit there as far as, I think, being a little bit worried. And I think it comes down to execution. I feel like when you go look at his outings, it's just a lot of stuff over the heart of the plate. And I think a few miles an hour down is a big deal. But, you know, after you see his funk a few times, you know, these are in-division games if you're going to the Yankees, where they've seen him a few times and they know what to expect. And if you're missing over the heart of the plate, I don't care if you're Paul Skeens throwing from 52 feet. These are big league hitters, and they're eventually going to figure out what you're doing and catch up to it a little bit. And I think that's what you're seeing from Crochet. So I think the stuff is fine, like you mentioned, and it's going to get outs, but he's got to start getting back on the corners a little bit.
Hey, Pitching Ninja Rob Friedman back with us on FT, and make sure you check out his book. We'll talk more about that coming up in a moment here too. Rob, it's great to have you back on the show, dude. Good to see you. Happy Friday. And also, I'm just going to start with the headliner. Shohei Ohtani, do you think he has a chance to win the Cy Young Award based on how many starts he's going to get? Because stuff-wise, if he's looking like this is maybe the best I've ever seen him. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. I think it's going to come down to number of starts he gets, because it's not only about being nasty, it's about how many times you're nasty and how much you've carried for your team. So I view innings pitched as probably the gating thing for him. He's going to need to make all his starts and hopefully go deep in them. But stuff-wise, absolutely, like it's best I've seen him.
Let me ask you this. I got Paul Skeens on the other line. He's curious about that comment there. So battle between neck and neck, man. What do you think? The big, no Wheeler. I mean, there's an opportunity there for both of them to battle down neck and neck. Do you think there's a big opportunity? And it would be great for baseball to see this happen.
I think this is the year. Interesting. Paul Skeens looked up to Shohei when he was coming up too, so it makes it really cool. Yeah, like Paul Skeens is the best pitcher, in the NL, definitely. Command wise, innings wise, but stuff wise, Shohei's up there with him. I mean, Shohei throws harder, and his stuff is filthy, and they're both incredible competitors. So, yeah, I mean, this might be his year if he's going to attack it, because it looks like a 2-horse race. Yamamoto could get in there too, right? So we have a few, but yeah, I would say Shohei's gonna have to make some starts.
Rob, good to see you, man. How you doing? I haven't
good. How are
spoken to you in a long
you?
time. Yeah, doing good, man. Doing good. Happy to be here. Well, I want to get into Mason Miller a little bit. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun, but I can sit here and talk Mason Miller all day. I played with him in Oakland. Now Sacramento A is obviously just a good kid all the way around, and such an awesome story. You talking about a 2-horse race between Shohei and Skeens. What does Mason got to do to get his name in that loot as well?
Dude, I love, like, talk about the most dominant pitcher on earth. We're talking about the other guys that's nasty, whatever. Nobody wants to hit against Mason Miller. I think he needs those two guys to falter. You need a non-clear starting pitcher as no one can dominate. And then he keeps doing around what he's doing. And then he can get his name in the conversation. And again, keep making those appearances. His stuff is so ridiculous. He, like, incredibly mature dude too. Like, I met him when he was young, interviewed him when he was young, and he still was like really, had his stuff together. Love watching him successful, and absolutely a beast.
I love seeing the edge. Like like you said, he's a good kid and he speaks well. Like, I think he's married to his high school sweetheart. Like, he's just an all around good kid. I like this. Like, he's running out to like a Korn song, and he's like got some, like some kind of some FU to him a little bit on some of these saves that he's getting. I'm loving that. I think some of that's coming from, I don't know if he was guaranteed the closer position. I think they were going to kind of platoon it, and he's just gone out and said, no, I'm the closer. But anyways, what I want to ask you about him is if you go back in time in some of these generations, and maybe in like the 60s, and someone watched Bob Gibson, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like, is this what baseball is going to become? And you fast forward to Nolan Ryan, you're like, oh my gosh, like, is this eventually what every pitcher is going to look like? I was going to ask, is Mason Miller what the future of every pitcher is, or is he even like above a normal anomaly? Like, he's just a unicorn of sorts?
So the cool thing is, when he made his debut, I literally said, I've seen the future, and his name is Mason Miller, because his stuff, even in his first outing, his first appearance was like mind blowing, throwing 102, which is nasty, nasty stuff. I think it's a little bit of both. Like, obviously velo is important in the game. There wouldn't be guys standing behind the backstop with guns if it wasn't. It's not the be all and end all. Obviously, pitchability is important, stuff's important, command's important, makeup's important. He happens to have all of that. So he is what every pitcher, certainly every closer, aspires to be. But I think you're also seeing guys go back to what worked back in the day, where they're breaking out multiple pitches. And I talk about this in my book, Unhittable, is like, there's a drive for velocity, but you can only go so far, because redlining bodies means that people break. And now we're looking at different ways to solve the same problem. Velo works because hitters have a short time to make a decision. And if you have enough pitches and you can tunnel them, hitters also have a short time making a decision. So either one works, and maybe more pitches is healthier.
I would agree totally with you there. I want to listen. We could talk about Miller this whole time because he's absolutely nasty. I would love to see him start and throw that fast for 9 innings. I think that'd be incredible. I know back in the day when I was in AAA with Aroldis Chapman, we tried that with him. Took about 3 hours to get 5 innings, and we said, all right, we'll put him in the bullpen. Ultimately, that's part of the game. José Soriano, absolute phenomenal pitcher. A lot of people didn't see it coming. A lot of people did. 0.24 ERA right now through 6 starts. Talk about him and the way he throws. Could you see this guy eventually, the Angels veering off and not doing well, not only being one of the best pitchers, maybe even close to a Cy Young, but maybe trade bait too as well?
Absolutely. So he reminds me, he's a little bit of a horse. He loves pitching innings. He loves staying in games. He made a little adjustment where he stands on the rubber. That's the biggest thing I can see, is like what he changed this year, as well as where he's kind of locating his pitches. He's much better at locating his pitches this year and working in more 4-seamers, which makes his sinker more effective, as well as all of his other pitches. Dude is fantastic to watch. I've been on him for the last couple of years, and I've been, like, on my YouTube show, constantly saying, this guy is an ace. This guy is an ace. And now he's finally turned into it. I didn't expect a 0.24 ERA ace, but he's the real deal.
Man, I want to get into some velo. Talk about a stat that I saw that just means I don't belong in this game anymore. The average righty starter is throwing 95.4 miles an hour to start the season this year. I don't even know if I have a question. I just wanted to put that out there. Like, where does it stop? Is that going to keep trickling up as it has over the last 10, 15 years? Or, there's just no more Joe Blow righty anymore. I mean, it's at 95.4 average starting right-handed pitcher velocity.
It is absolutely amazing. And part of it comes from, like, back in the day, we used to say, oh, we can't teach velo, so we're going to have to draft guys, and then other guys we're going to have to teach to pitch. Then we learned through these facilities that came up, you can teach velo, and you can get some of these guys that hadn't been throwing all that hard to throw hard. So you will see it continue to tick up, but there's got to be a natural breaking point. Again, like, we put guns on people, they're going to try to compete for the highest number. It's just a competitive athlete type of thing. If we put numbers on spin rate, they're going to try to spin it the most. Everybody's going to want to be Nolan McLean. We don't have great numbers on command. If they had that, you might see that be valued more. Sometimes analytics is a self-fulfilling prophecy where we value what we can measure, and if we can't measure it, we don't value it. Like mental game. Mental game is very important, but we don't value it because we can't measure it. So I think you're going to keep seeing the velo go up until the human body breaks, and that's just natural competitiveness. And I don't know, is that good for the game or not?
I don't want to be a hitter. That's why I'm not playing anymore. I know, but listen, the movements of the baseballs are incredible. And talk about movements, a guy like Nolan McLean, his sweeper frisbee thing, I don't even know what you call it. It's out of this world. I want to talk about his repertoire. His fastball. He faced Byron Buxton the other day. First at bat, he threw 5 or 6 two-seamers that ran up and in, and he half swung at 2 of them to strike out. Talk about the movement on him and how hard he is to hit right now. It just seems like it's every which way and angle that, he talks to the baseball. I need up, down, inside out. And how does he do it?
So I talk about a lot of players and a lot of pitchers that I like. He is my favorite pitcher to watch because when you watch him throw, you may never see any ball ever move like that again. Both sides of the plate, he can go arm side and glove side, up and down. Smart pitcher, competitive, throws hard, but that's not really even he tops out like 99 and everybody's like, whatever. His stuff is eye-popping. It's like his pitches are teleporting one way or another. And I talked to him about his grips. They're not necessarily unique. He grips the ball hard. He's got it. Whatever it is, grip strength, the ability to spin a baseball. This dude was born with it. That's one of those things we can't teach all that much. We can teach a little bit. You want to get guys like Nolan McLean on your team. Just so much fun to watch and so nasty.
Rob, how about, they always kind of say hitting is catching up to pitching, as far as like the pitchers start throwing fastballs up. So the hitters all start to train to hit the fastballs up. And then the Big 12-6 curveball is kind of out of the game. And now the splitter's making this comeback. What are you seeing? You got guys that, like McLean that we're just talking about throwing like this unicorn stuff. I don't know if there is like one thing that a hitter can say, I gotta focus on the heater up, or I gotta start tracking this splitter, or sinker's making a comeback. It feels to me like pitching is quite a bit ahead of hitting at this point. How do you see that playing out over the next couple of years as hitters try to adjust to where pitching is?
I think pitching will always lead the way because pitchers are basically on offense. You have the baseball, you're in control of it. You can put it where you want to, and you know how to attack a hitter. You have his heat maps and everything. So you're always going to be able to be in control. The hitter's a counterpuncher. That being said, I think new trends now, you're seeing multiple types of fastballs. Guys are like, you can't just have a good 4-seamer. You got to be able to throw a 2-seamer so they can't sit on one or the other. And then maybe a cutter like Cam Schlittler it, where you have 3 different types of fastballs and just throw them down the middle and hope they go where they want to go. Splitters are obviously huge. We have kick changes now that kind of act like splitters / circle changes. We're able to design so many different pitches. And again, this is one thing I go over in my book because I wanted to show everybody like where pitching was and where it is today and how much harder it is for hitters today. It is absolutely absurd. We can design pitches just to defeat certain hitters almost in a lab. Like pitchers are lab rats and we're just designing them to do what we want them to do.
It's absolutely incredible. And the kids I teach today, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, you guys don't have the slightest clue. You think these kids, they're trying to throw curveballs, circle change. I'm like, first off, your hands aren't big enough. Just throw a fastball and dot up and you'll be fine. I want to go to a new pitcher that just came in, JR Ritchie. Ultimately, you come up to the big leagues, you either get your first at bat or your first pitch of the year or ever. First pitch, home run, and then boom, your life comes to an end. It seems like I said it before, he looked stoic. He looked like he was under control. Talk a little bit about him and how, his performance can help these Braves ultimately win the NL East. I mean, another good pitcher coming in.
Absolutely. And dude, as a hitter, that's uncool, right? You got to let him have the freebie first
Ambush.
pitch, parent.
Ambush. Yeah.
So mean. I thought that was awesome. And I thought what was even more awesome is how he reacted to that, because give up 2 solo shots, pitched great. I thought his changeup looked really good. His curveball looked great. And his poise looked great. Like, to be tested in that first outing, you're just shoved in there and you do that. Like, really impressive stuff by JR Ritchie. And yeah, like, so to me, looking at the Braves before the season started, I was like, if they can survive until they get Strider and Schwellenbach and, Waldrop and, Smith-Shawver back, then they're going to be tough to beat. They're not only surviving, they're thriving with these guys. So, I mean, I'd worry if I were in the NL East competing against them.
Let's go to the AL East with the Yankees here. They're playing excellent baseball. It seems like the ebbs and flows are really either really good or really bad. They're going on a nice streak here, 6 games. They got 2 dogs that are waiting to come back pitching wise. Garrett Cole and oh my God, I'm drawing
Rodon. Yeah,
Carlos Rodon.
Yeah.
What is going to happen here when I think Carlos is going to be first. Well, actually, I don't know. We'll see how that hamstring is. Whoever it is. Who's the odd man out here, or what's going to happen? Odd men.
Yeah. I have no idea. All I know is you're going to want those guys in your rotation, 2 old school dogs that you're going to want out there. And that is absolutely an advantage for them. They also have tons of arms that they haven't even scratched the surface of bringing up or contributing. So, I mean, they could be very dangerous. And the emergence of Schlittler, I think, makes this rotation so tough. Like, he also has just ice water in his veins. And you add him learning alongside, again, Cole and Rodon, and watching the way they go about their business. It can only be good for all these guys.
How about same division, Rob? Garrett Crochet, off to a little bit of a tough start by his standards. What are you seeing from him?
Yeah, that, I heard you talking about Garrett Crochet, and I've had the same problem. Like, I thought he might be tipping pitches. I went and did overlays of his mechanics. I couldn't find anything about tipping pitches. It looked to me some of his locations were off, and he was getting, slaughtered in those situations. And then some, like, he threw some good pitches that got hit. And I don't know if that was luck. That's what made me think he might be tipping, is there were good pitches that usually are getting outs that were getting hits, or it's just luck. Like, you get beat by luck sometimes and people put things together and all of a sudden you have a bad outing. I'd still wait and see. His stuff looks good. I mean, it was down a tick velo wise, but nothing like it didn't make me think he was anything other than Garrett Crochet. And we all know what he can do when he's on. I'm nervous because I'd like to see him have, put together a couple good starts now, but I think he's got it back in him.
Okay. The consensus question from the crowd to finish up here is they wanted to know anyone else. I guess it's kind of in the Crochet category that you've been watching so far this year, where you're either really concerned with the trends or someone they're looking for someone who, I mean, as the crowd put it, talk about someone who sucks. That's what they said. So I was like, okay. And there's 2 directions you can go. One is this person's not pitching well, and I'm worried about his indicators and what his performance looks like and his stuff. Or I'm watching someone and I'm like, it looks like they just had some batted ball luck or something that was off that can be corrected.
See, Crochet was the one who jumped out at me. Like, that's the one I would love to talk about. And I think he's fixable. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that's jumped out at me on that side. Don't know. Webby started.
Yeah, that's slow. A good one. Logan.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about him. I know he rebounded a little bit yesterday. I think it was 7 innings, 3 runs. Do you think with someone like that who is so great at locating that ABS might hurt him in the long run because you can't get away with a little bit of dancing outside of the zone and kind of messing with the umpire? I don't want to say messing with the umpire, but he knows who the ump is and what he can get. And you're not going to get that same advantage. It's not like he doesn't have other tricks up his sleeve, but that is one that he just did so well for so many years, kind of just tiptoeing the line, getting someone to either chase or to get that pitch out of the zone for a strike.
Yeah,
Call
I
it.
think that's a great point. I think the same thing. So Chris Bassett's another guy that comes to mind who I thought would thrive with the ABS system because he throws some pitches that get some wicked break and can clip the top of the zone with some slow curves or something. It can be like, I think the umpires are definitely more disciplined now and not giving anything because they don't want to look like a fool in front of a stadium when something's challenged. And they're competitive too. They want to look good. So I think it can have something to do with it. I think we're going to need more of a sample set on that because I saw good stuff out of Webb. I thought his pitch movement looked good yesterday, especially great location on rushing. Too soon.
No, not at all. We have Drew
That
Gilbert
was
on
clearly
later.
a
Rob.
mistake, right? He
Yeah,
clearly
of
didn't
course.
know anything about that.
No, he was completely unaware, right, Ross? He didn't
Unaware,
even know what
totally.
was going on that everyone else had seen on social media.
Yep, not a
Innocent.
clue.
Nobody talked
Living-
about that in the clubhouse ever because they wouldn't.
And he's not a veteran that could place the baseball wherever he wants and send a message, right?
Yes. So his location was pretty good on that one. So I think he can locate when he wants.
That's true. I like it. Well, on the way out here, Rob, we appreciate you. Yeah, another plug for the book, just to let everyone know. Obviously, they can get it wherever they want, but just to give people a little shout out on, what they're missing if they don't read it.
If they don't read it, they're going to keep wondering what's going on in today's game and why pitching looks so freaking nasty. If they do get it, they're going to learn the people behind it. That it's not just lifers in baseball. A lot of these guys came from the outside and kind of changed how we view the game or how we teach the game. So if you want to learn about pitching, buy my book.
There you go. That's the best little 20-second pitch that you could put together. I love it. Good stuff, Rob. Great to see you again. Appreciate you. We'll catch you soon, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. That's Pitching Ninja. Be right back.
People, life is expensive. So you should start looking at things that are unnecessarily expensive, like your phone bill, and say, is there a better option?
Mint Mobile is a better option than if you have other companies, especially when you have kids like me and you have everybody and their brother on your family plan. Mint Mobile will give you a cheaper option with the same coverage.
Yes, and some wireless bills are crazy with the bogus fees and the free perks. They are not free perks. They cost you more in the long run. So just go to Mint Mobile, check out what they have to offer. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. If you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/territory. That's mintmobile.com/territory. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
Hey, did you guys see Huascar Brazoban from the Mets being told yesterday that if it stays tied, he's going to pitch the ninth? And then if the Mets took the lead, they'd go with Devin Williams, but he forgot and then went out in the mound, saw the lights go on, and said, uh-oh.
Oh, boy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That I couldn't, like I said, I was at the bar, so we couldn't tell. I just saw Devin Williams look dejected. I'm like, oh, no. They told me he was coming out, and he wasn't. And then to find out this, hey, we're all human.
Yeah.
We're all human. Mistakes happen. He got the out. So he got the one out, and they said, I would have left him in.
You let him eat a little more?
Let him
Yeah.
eat another guy until he didn't get an out. But ultimately, Devin Williams came in.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know who I'd rather be least in that situation. Devin Williams, who's coming out all fired up, or I guess you'd rather be Brazoban because at least he thinks he's in the game. But at some point, like they tell you, oh, you're not supposed to be in the game. And you like trigger this thing like, okay, my night's over. And like, actually, no, you got to get another out. That's kind of a lose-lose for both those guys.
Yeah, doesn't it, like, what the rules are if you cross the white line.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Then he's got to pitch.
So Bruce Barr crossed the white line.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's like in Field of Dreams. You're like, oh, no.
I guess couldn't you have faked an injury or something? I mean, not that you want to do that, but just been like,
Yeah,
I'm I'm toast now. I'm done. I
Yeah.
don't know. Or do you have to? I don't know.
You got to face a batter, I think, or at
I
least a
guess
pitch,
so.
right?
At least a pitch. Yeah, I don't know the rule that well. Oh, it's on. This was a story that dominated the headlines at a time when baseball usually doesn't. It was during spring training when Pete Crow Armstrong told Chicago Magazine in an interview that Dodger fans can be disengaged, photo obsessed, and not true baseball fans compared to Chicago fans. PCA is a diehard Cubs fan who grew up in California, but he is now with the Cubs, of course, and signed up for a long period of time. He said, I love Chicago more and more. The people are great. They give a bleep. They aren't just baseball fans who go to the game like Dodger fans that take pictures and whatever. They're paying attention. They care. We'll get to a little clip of him later on FT, further adding fuel to the fire. We're bringing it up right now, Strip, because PCA is about to be warmly welcomed by many phones and many loud voices at Dodger Stadium who are pinpointing parts of the outfield to spend some time this weekend so they can say hello to him. What were your thoughts on the comments, and how do you think he will be received?
I've seen some people received similarly as what he's about to get. Let's say some 2017 Astros coming back to LA for some warm welcomes. I think I kind of get what he's trying to say there. I think it's just wrong for anyone that has tried to go to a game at Dodger Stadium. If you just park and walk into that place, you're a good baseball fan. That place is mayhem. So for the guys that, the fans that go to, I don't know, season ticket holders that deal with that 80 times a year, those are some diehard baseball fans. And I'm sorry, it's Los Angeles. That's the culture there. Sorry, I'm going to take a picture of the best player on the planet, Shohei Ohtani, or if Leonardo DiCaprio is sitting in the section ahead of me, I'm going to go try and get a selfie. I mean, that's the culture you're getting out there. That's part of what makes it, we're going to get a list later of some of the best places voted by big leaguers to play. They choose the Los Angeles Dodgers because it's fun, it's different, the weather's beautiful every day, and the fans give a damn. So I think PCA is a little off on that take.
Question, do you think Dodger fans would back, let's just pick someone fun in the media a lot, Mookie Betts, if he said the same thing about Cubs fans? Like, hey, I see that cup snake, or what do they call it? Beer snake? The beer snake, when they stack the cups in the outfield and they're not paying attention and all that. Yeah, that's my only problem with the fan perspective is you can only get after him so much. Like, yes, he can be your villain and all that, but don't take it too personal. Like, he's just saying, oh, I think our fans are better than your fans. And you would want the player on your team to say the same thing, right?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I'm certainly not here telling any Dodger fans to cross any lines out there. Keep it in good fun. Let PCA hear it a little bit if you want to, but it's at the end of the day, it's just a baseball player sharing his take. So, if Mookie did the same, Dodger fans would have his back, and Cubs fans would get up and riot in the same way Dodger fans are. So that's part of it, and villains are good for the game. It's all in good fun. It's fun to have someone to root for and to root against at times. And I think the Dodger fans do that as good as anyone.
Yeah, and he's from LA, so he's got some clout. It's like me being from Jersey and saying some typical things about Jersey people.
Like, you're allowed.
Yeah,
I
guess he's allowed to, but at the same time, you got to remember, like, they know you're from there, understandably, but they don't know you from a hole in the wall until you got to the Chicago Cubs. For the most, if you're not a baseball fan, if you go to the games now, he's going to be the villain. They're going to be hooting and hollering at him, and Scotty, I know you like this stuff.
Of course I like this stuff because it drives it up. It does. I mean, the Dodgers are off to a good start. The Cubs have won a bunch of, 9 in a row. Mm-hmm. So this adds another storyline to the fire. And it's not just me. Fans love this stuff because, you go to a game, the entire outfield's going to be buzzing.
Who's the guy they're yelling at? Let's go.
And then everyone learns the story even if they didn't know it. And then it just becomes a thing.
And it kind of kickstarts the Dodgers again to go on another run. Like, honestly, this is little things like this that can make a team better, that can bring them united. And, they played okay against the Giants. Giants did a little bit better.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
thought,
They
in
dropped
my
the
opinion.
series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, they've been
Well,
fighting.
and let's say,
against
you know,
good teams. Go ahead.
PCA knew what he was doing, right? I mean, he
Yeah.
knows what you're getting into when you say something like that. I did it on the flip side once, and it just absolutely crushed me. We had just finished a series. I was a Blue Jay. We had finished a series in Pittsburgh. We were going to Baltimore. I was getting interviewed, and it was a big like division. You know, towards the end of the year, winner might get a wild card spot, divisions and play kind of thing. And I said something like, "We're the better team. We're going to go in there and take care of business." And one of my buddies from the Orioles showed me that I got printed out and put all through their locker room, and like Ross Stripling's the villain for the weekend. I'm like, dude, I was just like saying the right thing in the media, you know. So that was when like I didn't want that. Versus PCA, he's kind of like choosing to take the smoke right there. So you got to respect that if a villain's choosing to be the villain.
Yeah, he likes it, and he knows where he's going to be for a long period of time. The extension hadn't been done yet when we spoke to him in spring training, but talks had been underway for a while. So let's get to that answer to the original viral comment from PCA on FT about a month ago.
And I didn't get a chance to really like like back that statement up with the fact that has nothing to do with Doc. That has nothing to do with Shohei, any of the players over there. I love Mookie Betts. I look up to him like crazy. Freddie's only ever been great to me. If anything, those are the guys that have given these fans a reason to be fans. And, you know, I grew up going to Dodgers games when they weren't always good, when they had like Manny Wood pop up. But it's like they go in phases. And I remember, like, you know, all fans fight and stuff, but like putting the Giants fan in the coma, like that stuck with me as a kid. Like just little things, you know, and sitting in the stands, just nasty stuff goes on. I didn't always experience that at other ballparks. But like I said, that has nothing to do with who's actually on the field for them. I love playing against them. And I just love what they're doing right now because they're creating a dynasty. But I want to take them down too. And again,
That was like a round two.
I don't even think it was bad. I just think the more he's speaking, the more it's getting worse in my opinion. Right? You know what I mean?
Or
like
better.
He's trying to make it sound better, like not to make it a bad comment what he said, and then he brings up something else, and then I was there when they weren't good, and I'm like, oh boy, you know. But you know, just a young kid at heart, just talking out loud, and you know, hopefully he has a good series. That's the way you back it up. Go out there and play the game the right way.
He did say it with his chest because when we asked him about it, he's like, I wanted to clear something up. Dodgers really good. Doc, players, etc. really good. I just don't love the fan environment. I mean, he did kind of double down on it with that statement.
Yeah, he was saying when I get on first base or if bench is clear or something, I don't want anyone coming after me. I want to keep it cool within my peers. But the fans, you guys, I said what I said, and I'm backing it up. You guys have it on me if you want.
How did the players take this, Strip? They all know about the comments here. Did the players even care? Like, does it get brought up heading into this series? Of course, they're going to know, even if they forgot about it from a month ago, since you're going to hear it from the crowd the entire game. But, like, do players care at all on a regular season game in late April that PCA said something? Do they go like, oh, let's put a little extra and not hit him, but I'm saying like let's try and put an 0 for 4 on him and let's blast the Cubs to show the fans? Or is it just like, hey, we're going out to play?
I think it depends a little bit on the situation, right? This was not an attack on players. In fact, he even just went out of his way to be pro player on the Dodgers. So there's going to be, I would say, zero ill will whatsoever. What the players are going to be excited about is like the guys not playing, or when they're hitting, just out there listening to the fans chirp PCA, you know, for 27 straight innings. So I think they'll talk about that and just be like, man, how out of hand is this really going to get? But as far as like any player versus player ill will versus PCA, I would say that's a 0.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, you know, beef for the Dodgers coming into this series is not with the Cubs, but they just finished up that series that Todd Father was talking about with the Giants and dropped 2 out of 3 to San Francisco. What did you think of Logan Webb and Dalton rushing and all that? I know we just talked about it earlier for a minute with Pitching Ninja, but Strip, your take on how that all goes down. Does Logan Webb take that upon himself to plunk a hitter like that. And, it's funny, the comment from Rushing about Jung-Hoo Lee, I'll leave out the wording, but went a little viral. And I don't know, that's kind of a production of the internet these days. I don't even know if most players even heard it during the game.
Yeah, this reminded me of a really famous Nate Bargatze joke where he's like trying to teach his kid math, and he's like, this new math, and I don't know how you do it. And then you get in there and you're like, oh, that's old math right there in the middle. And you're like, that's what this was. This was old baseball mixed into 2026 baseball, where we used to be able to handle things ourselves out on the field. But now you got to go in and talk to the media after, and Logan Webb's got to act like he lives under a rock with a flip phone and hasn't seen social media in 4 days. And Rushing probably does the right thing as a young guy and takes the high road, and Doc kind of has his back. And that's the social media internet world that we live in. But at the end of the day, that's a situation for 100 years that got dealt with on the baseball field. And then you moved on between division rivals. So it's kind of like both those things happening at the same time. And that's just where we are in 2026 Major League Baseball.
We have Logan Webb's comment after the game, since Doc Roberts was like, oh, hell yeah. I mean, Logan Webb clearly hit Dalton Rushing on purpose. Rushing was more like, oh, I like getting on base. If it was intentional, I'll take it. I'll take what I deserve. I mean, he's a young pup still in the league. He hasn't gotten a lot of PT yet, and he's off to a blazing start when he does play. But here's Webb, the veteran who knows where he puts the baseball.
What would you say about hitting Rushing?
What thing with Jung-Hoo?
Oh, he was on video. It looked like he was saying kind of something disparaging when Jung-Hoo was hurt.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Where were you trying to go with that pitch?
Just fastball inside.
I mean, he did not have the world's best poker face.
I'd like
Todd,
to win some money off him.
That's like if we're playing and he's like, I don't have anything. I don't have a royal flush.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, that was hard to watch.
You couldn't hold it.
No,
you couldn't hold the smile back.
No, that was it. I mean, listen, fastball inside, boom, missed his pitch. But yeah, you got to believe he did. He said everything right, just with a little smirk on his face. So, yeah, understandably, he's an older guy. He's been around the block, so he's not missing a beat, in my opinion.
No.
Yeah, that was choosing to keep a little money in his pocket. You come out and say, I went right at him. You get a nice little letter from the commissioner the next day. So that was just choosing to avoid that situation of having to pay any kind of fine. Say, yeah, that was a two-seamer that didn't come on back, But, yeah, that, like I said, that's just the world we live in, that we got to put him in front of a camera and he has to play coy like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, it's not like the league can send him a letter and say, hey, we didn't like your poker face or you were smiling when you said that, right? It's got to be the words that come out. And the words that came out, you just have to read them like, verbatim. Hey, he didn't know. He claims he didn't know. And that's all you can do. So, yeah, a little juice to the next Giants-Dodgers matchup when it does happen. All right, let's step aside. When we swing back, Strip alluded to this earlier, we're going to talk about some key questions that players receive, including life on the road. Where do they thrive the most, ballpark-wise?
Support for today's episode comes from Square, and they've got big news. During Square's biannual releases event, they launched a wave of innovative new tools to help local businesses run faster, smarter, and more profitably. Square is awesome around Orlando, where AJ and I live. We go to the farmers markets around town. I go to the one near Lake Eola. It's awesome. I use Square to pay with my phone. I get the receipt right away. It's great.
And so many businesses, not just small businesses, use this. So many restaurants and businesses I walk into, not only in Orlando, but all over the country, have these, and you just use your credit card, pops out a receipt, emails it right to you. It's so fast, it's so efficient, it's so hassle-free. It's one of the great things that you have going.
Square launched its most powerful tools yet, designed to give local businesses a competitive edge without the complexity. If you're ready to sell smarter, run faster, and stress less right now, you can get up to $200 off Square hardware at square.com/go/foul. That's square.com/go/FOUL. Run your business smarter with Square. Get started today.
Hey, did you see this quote from Alex Cora? Honestly, reading some of the quotes from players, we're taking losing very hard, which is not usual, right? But it's a different group, so we have to make sure you stay the course, understand where you're at in the season. Is it a bad start? Yes, it is. We know that, but we've got plenty of time to get back to 500 and make our move and get to where we want to get. He's completely on the money, and I like the way that he described it, because this team has some young players that are being asked to step up in a big way, like Roman Anthony and Marcelo Maya, and they haven't experienced this before. They've barely experienced the majors.
Yeah, this is well said. This is a sign of a veteran coach understanding it is early. But, eventually you have to get going. And you look at this right now, 7 games back, last place. Yeah, it's ugly, but it's doable still. And they do have a team to do it. It seems like when they go bad, though, they always find a way to lose these games that are close. And, it's just part of their MO. I still think they're going to have an opportunity to get a wild card at the end of the day and maybe make the playoffs. But, yes, they got to get going. They have the team to do it. They got the names. I mean, the Jaron Durans of the world. I mean, they got a Kickstarter here a little bit and get going, and see where your cards lay. But it's a juggernaut, man. This AL East is the best in my opinion. It's a juggernaut to see the teams you play, and it doesn't stop. Each day you got to come and bring it.
That was the division that I thought, you're going to get maybe 3 teams out of it, but somebody's going to be the odd man looking out. And I mean, besides the Rays, and
Blue
I think
Jays got to pick it up too.
They do too. Yeah, the Red Sox, they don't have enough thump. Just a gem of an article by Stephen Nesbitt in The Athletic. What is life really like for MLB players on the road? So he was answering some questions. We'll go with the headliner here. He said that there was actually a clubhouse last year that really got scientific with it, or unscientific, since it was just one clubhouse with players, but they graded each MLB team set up in 3 areas: stadium ambiance, facilities, and then the city itself. They wiped out last year the A's and the Rays, since they were both in minor league parks and temporary homes. They said the big loser was the Baltimore Orioles, bottom 3 in all 3 categories, including the worst facilities. They said the visiting clubhouse is outdated. The weight room is in a hallway next to some garbage chutes. So they took the cake. And I must say, Ross, we'll start there. Camden Yards is one of my favorite places to go as a fan, but I guess it sucks for players, huh?
I don't know if I would have voted at 30 of 30, Todd. I'd like to give your take on that one. In COVID, they did move a lot of weight rooms out kind of into an open space, and the Orioles just decided to not move their visiting weight room back to where it belonged. So it really is just out in the middle of kind of like a downstairs concourse. I don't mind it. It's better than it being in a 10 by 10 room, which it kind of was before. I do like Camden. I mean, it's especially as they got better through my career, that place was fun to play with, even when they weren't great, but they started to really pick it up, filling it out, and had a packed stadium. And then the hotel, I'm not going to say where it is, even though most people know what it is. It's an extremely nice hotel. It's among, I think, players' favorite hotels. It's just the area isn't necessarily the safest to walk to and from, maybe from the stadium, is what they tell us, make sure and take the bus home. So I'm guessing that plays into it, but no, it would have been like a mid ground for me, not 30 for 30.
Yeah, I would have it down there. I would. The batting cages, there's only one cage, or you're only allowed certain times to go in. That, if we're being petty, like it says. I mean, Tampa Bay, one of those where it's like, I don't know. So there's some that just seem dark. You know what I mean? I don't like when you walk in there. You're just like, it doesn't seem like the lighting's good and stuff, but I have to really dig down deep.
No, the lighting there, I mean, even for fans too, is really tough. I haven't seen how they renovated it just now, but you know how you go into some of those convenience stores and they have those really dingy, annoying lights? That, to me, when I was in the Trop, that's what it felt like.
Well, in Baltimore too, like, you say you're a pinch hitter, like, you got to walk a ways. If like you want to get some work in,
it's big.
You got to go back into the clubhouse, walk about 60 yards, 70, 80 yards to get to the home batting cage. And then you're like, all right, I got to go quick, because what happens if somebody gets up? Then you got to come all the way back. Like, there's no good way of getting there. So
I got a small one about Camden. For whatever reason, the bullpens out there, they're in like left center and they're kind of on top of each other, and the visiting one's on top. And if you get called into the field, it's about a 20-step walk in cleats on cobblestone. They cobblestone the path to get onto the field. So you're like doing this like little like baby deer tiptoe thing to just not eat it as you try and go pitch to major league hitters. You know what? So that alone, I think I'm putting them in at least my mid-20s.
Detroit's a tough one. I mean, it's tight in there. Detroit would be on one of my bottom lists there, and I'm not talking about the people. I'm just talking about clubhouse.
Yeah.
The batting cages are right there. I'm looking down some teams here.
I'll give you a few more things
Oakland,
too.
Oakland.
Yeah.
Oof.
That's
got to be done.
That one was disqualified since that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And also they're in a temp spot right now. But here they said stadium ambiance, Cubs ranked first. This is going off one team and their players. But again, just take it for what it is. They ranked stadium ambiance for the White Sox last. I think that's a little bit unfair because you're doing this last year. The White Sox are terrible. When the year the White Sox, when I covered them in the playoffs, it was awesome. No, you think it should rank near the bottom there with ambiance?
When I played there too, it was tougher. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what else do we have. Rangers were first in facilities, brand new spot. It better be.
I was there day one. That was sweet.
It was nice.
Man.
Yeah.
Road City that these players liked. Padres were first. Twins and Reds, Cincinnati and Minnesota were rated tied for last.
An undercover, really good city that I liked, and not many people will, was Milwaukee.
Yeah,
they got good atmosphere there. They got a couple of restaurants. They got basically University of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, whatever
Milwaukee,
it is.
Wisconsin. Yep.
Good bars there to hang out afterwards if you wanted to go. Good time with the boys for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say the obvious ones at the top are going to be the ones you're thinking of: Manhattan, Chicago, Miami, San Diego, West Coast. Family can come, maybe go to the beach. Those are going to be the heavy hitters. And then the ones at the bottom, unfortunately, kind of Midwest, kind of like industrial cities where you stay and maybe not as much walking around as you can do in some of those other cities, maybe not as much sunlight as you get in some of those other cities. So I think you got to remember, though, there's only 30 stadiums and they're big league stadiums, and most of them are great, but you got to rank them. So the ones at the bottom doesn't mean they're crummy. It just means they're not Dodger Stadium, not Petco Park.
All right, so I'm going to rip through some other questions that were in this article where Nesbitt tried to get answers, and we can get the take from you two. So he basically is taking questions from fans about player life, and then he is asking it to players in the clubhouse. So I'll go over the next question that was on there. Scheduling. What is life like after games? And what is life like in the morning before a day game, or what your schedule is? So Strip, give us the breakdown of those two things. After a game, what's the most common schedule for people? And then how does a day game look for you?
Yeah, I guess I'll try to speak for I'll speak for pitchers, Todd, and you can speak for position players. For me, when I was a starter 4 days a week, I'd go home and crash and be asleep 10 minutes within being in the door. But if it was the day I pitched, you're wired like you just drank 2 Red Bulls, or you could be so crashed from the output that you maybe go sit. But I would say on days that I pitched, or days where I was hot in the bullpen and maybe had to launch a caffeine at 6 p.m. to get ready for a sixth inning, 2 a.m. is a very expected bedtime. And then the mornings, man, once I had kids, if it was a day I wasn't pitching, I was up 8 a.m. getting as much family time as I could. Wife taking advantage of me being home for sure. And then a day game, man, you're up. You're in the car and you're going, and ready when you get there, you're eating and you're going to work and you're getting ready for a game. Day games sneak up on you in a hurry. But yeah, Todd, what do you think? I mean, position players, I think the spectrum is all over the map of playing a game, going home and trying to calm yourself down to get in bed. I don't imagine that's an easy thing.
Hard, very, very hard, especially if you're by yourself on the road. I was never the video game guy. I would watch a movie, or certain teams like, hey man, who's playing the card game tonight? We go over to a room, play some cards till 2, 3 in the morning, and woke up 12:30, took a shower, got changed. I'd have my first meal at some of the stadiums sometimes. I call the club and be like, hey, what do you got cooking there? Make sure it's ready for me to rock. Grease them a little bit with some cash, and wait. And now my day started. Not the most ideal, Probably was sluggish that day, but those are the things I miss hanging with the boys. I don't miss staying up that late.
Did you feel kind of wired? Like you can't just go home and hit the pillow.
No, yeah, oh yeah. Ultimately, no, I wouldn't say wired. Just like, you take the bus ride home, Strip, talk to me, and you're like leaning against the window. You're tired, but then when you get to your room, you're like, why am I not tired again? So it's just it's weird. It's weird.
A little bit what you're talking about, Todd. That's kind of your time to be a normal human. Especially if you're on the road, like that's when you want to go meet up with a couple buddies on the team and play some cards or get a beer or whatever, and put the stress of a baseball day behind you. And it just happens to be the hours from 11 to 2 in the morning when everyone else does it, like when they get home from work at a reasonable time. So I think part of it is just wanting to feel normal, like camaraderie and friendship, as opposed to kind of when you're at the field, it's much more cutthroat. You're getting ready for work. So I think it just, you're not necessarily wired. It's not like I couldn't go to sleep. It's like, man, I am awake and I want to take advantage of this time and be around like people that I want to enjoy just being around with.
I like that. More great questions. Let's get to swag. How much free stuff do you get when you're a current player? Strip, we'll start with you. Coming from the Dodgers, did you see some guys just with piles of freebies and so much that they didn't even know what to do with it? How did that all work?
Yeah, I saw someone in our notes use the word grotesque, a grotesque amount of stuff. I thought that was a good adjective, but it's about right, man. Yeah, the Dodger days are insane. I mean, they do like 15 bobblehead nights in a season. They do giveaways. That all trickles down to us. I want them. I have them. Some of them are behind me. You can't see them in my screen. I probably once a month would box up stuff and just send it home. And some of it I'd keep. But what I would do is with my friends and family, I would do like a Santa Claus Christmas day every off season where I would just lay out the stuff that I knew I was either going to get new ones next year or was never going to wear. And my friends would just come in and pick it out like, it was Christmas morning. And that was actually a lot of fun. And I enjoyed doing that. But yeah, I'll stick with that word grotesque. I mean, it is just an unreasonable amount of stuff.
You talk about Christmas morning. Remember you go on that 10-game road trip and you come back and you're like, what's going to be at the locker? And you'd have 4 or 5 boxes waiting there for you. And same thing. Both my brothers wear the same size shoe, same size shirts, hats, pants, and I would come in with the big duffel bag and spread it out too as well, and they would fiend on it and they would battle for it. So yeah, it's a lot. And you'd have some clubhouse guys. I don't know about you. You've been around the block. Some guys would be a little stingy. Hey man, can I get this? They're like, huh? And I'm like, bro, come on, man. I need another extra large shirt. Like, can you? And then most of the time, guys just would have it in there for you. But yeah, Christmas morning came every 10 days off to the road.
Did you guys ever get freebies where it was beyond, say, apparel or baseball gear? Companies trying to send stuff, and sometimes you're like, "Oh, this is great."
And then you would just spread it on the table. Like,
yeah.
Somebody brought in, these one year was these rubber rings. They gave like 100 of them, and the guy's like, "I don't need all these," or, what is the stuff? Hats, glasses, stuff like that. That would.
Some of the cool ones over the years in LA where guys would get sponsors, like I think Yasiel Puig had like Beats, and we'd just show up one day and we'd have Beats. Magic Johnson, an owner, one day we showed up, every player had 3 Magic Johnson signed jerseys. You got a Michigan State one, a Team USA one, and a Lakers one. That's cool. Probably the one that was the most ridiculous was, I think it was either 2017 or 18, Max Muncy hits a homer into the water in Oracle off of Madison Bumgarner, and Bumgarner starts chirping at him, and Muncy tells him to go get the ball out of the ocean or whatever it is he said.
Yeah.
For no reason, nobody set it up. We get back to LA. Everyone had 3 different shirts from 3 different brands with Max Muncy's face on it or some silhouette of Max Muncy telling Bumgarner to go get the ball out of the ocean. I still have those. It just got three shirts from one-off situation.
Yeah, that's a money machine.
Yeah, Joey Votto did a Beats by Dre too thing.
Where he just handed everything out to everyone. That's good stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, next one. How much did you guys prep for umpires? We'll start with Strip because it's changing now. It's not all there. You still can look at how an ump calls a game and be able to work with them. The umps are changing, and of course, if a call is too far off, you can ABS him with a challenge. But how much did you prepare in your reports based on how the umpire calls a game?
So I would say I got the printout as part of my pregame prep all the time of who the umpire is. And, he kind of has heat maps of what he calls, might be east-west, might be north-south. As far as how much input I put into it, I would say it had to be pretty apparent that he had favoritism to one side or the other for me to actually say I'm going to change the way I'm going to go out there and pitch. But it's definitely something that I wanted to know and wanted to be able to take advantage of if I could. But I would say actually minimally went into effect.
Pretty much zero. There was paperwork. It would show like the heat maps of where he called strikes, but a lot of the times I swung at a lot of pitches, so it didn't really matter. I was in swing mode already, and guess what? You're going to get screwed every once in a while, if not a little bit more than once in a while, and you just got to take your lumps when you can get them. One day he might be calling the low pitch. One day he might be calling the middle in pitch. Like, everything changes, how they go that day. So I took zero accountability.
Okay. So, but you would kind of feel it during the game and be like, hey, he's not giving me this pitch.
The game's got to play out. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And once they establish that, if they change it, then there's a problem. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden they don't call it. You're like, what are we doing here?
Right. You just wanted the consistency.
That's all.
Yeah. And
I would be stubborn about it, Scott. Like a Mike Trout is a good example. Mike Trout just hammers anything down in the zone. So I would throw him nothing but basically fastballs up in the zone to a fault. And if I executed one that I think was a strike and he balled it, I'm going right back to that lane. It doesn't matter because I'm not throwing Mike Trout something down in the zone that he can, slug. So it a lot of times was matchup dependent and didn't necessarily matter the umpire's tendencies. It's still, the hitter's strengths and weaknesses for me.
Right. You're not going to make the ump bring you down to the nitro zone for Trout. No thanks. Yeah. You'd rather
the
ball for it. Exactly.
We saw that in New York. Oof.
Oh, right. You saw that the other day.
God.
Yeah. The nitro zone was back, baby. All right. Last one from fans. And this one's interesting because in the article, he actually didn't get answers. He was like, I just didn't get anything interesting to deliver back. So we'll see if you guys have something for us. How did big leaguers prevent sunburn? And obviously the basic answer is sunscreen, but like how much did you have to think about that all of the time since you're outside baking in the sun so often from spring training through the end of the season?
Yeah, that was it for me.
When did you apply?
Right when I got to spring training, ears and nose and neck.
How, would you do it multiple times in a day or once you set it, you're good?
I probably forgot. I would do it right in the beginning of the day. And then they would have it on the bench for you too, if you needed it.
If you want to put more on.
So.
Did you shower at all or only at the end after the games?
I showered a lot.
So then when you come out of the shower, do you reapply or
if I remember,
you have time and remember?
Yeah. Okay. And then the next day you're like, oh God, you could feel it on your face. Cause it was here, this you can kind of be fine with, I would still kind of rub a little bit in, but
the face,
you
could
ears,
get crispy.
The nose, all over there. I have the beard that blocked it. But the neck too, like Dusty Baker would have the cloth that came off the hat and he would block his neck. It's pretty cool.
Well, you didn't hear it from me, but sunscreen is a pitcher's good friend, especially if you mix it with a little bit of rosin. So it's never a big deal to have a couple extra sprays mixed in, maybe even some in your back pocket. I got some skin stuff in my family history, so I was long sleeves at all times from the jump, and sunscreened up too. I would say maybe some guys are aware of it. There's always a sunscreen station on your way out the door. Some take advantage of it, some don't, but I was definitely a heavy sunscreener.
There you go.
You got a little Crisco, a little Bard, all that, just like all all good.
Extra sunscreen for the pitchers.
Are all cheaters, man.
Well, now they watch the sunscreen. You can't make your concoctions like you used to.
Man, the glory days. I can say that now. Those are sometimes in a rain delay. We're just in there concocting Dr. Pepper with pine tar. Put it in the microwave and see how sticky we could get it.
Oh,
that's crazy. Yeah, it got to a point where it was nuts. Kratz always has the story where they were like testing it out at the ballpark and seeing how much, how much the spin rates and stuff like that would change. So I think it was when he was with the Yanks. I'll let him retell it next week. It's been a minute, but and he said he grabbed the ball and you could hear
on strike three. I'd be like,
Oh, when you get
Well,
the
we could-
baseball. Yeah.
I would employ guys like you, Todd, to give me a little bit. Like Seager played
Yeah.
with just egregious amount of pine tar, and I'd sometimes maybe just, flip the ball over to Corey, get it right back.
Yeah. A lot of old, like James Shields, like a lot of older guys, Pelfrey, Mike Pelfrey, like there. What you got? I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So
Right. Give me a little help.
that's all.
Yeah. A little refill at the gas station. I like that. All right. Great questions. Really good article in The Athletic from Nesbitt. Let's get to Leo. Locks of the day for Friday. But first, we can look back at yesterday and how things went down. I was on a heater, and then I got cold again from yesterday. Under on Mets, and I thought Joe Ryan
You
was
guys gotta
going to
stop
put
doing
up.
the
Christian
doubles,
Scott
bro.
didn't have it either. Neither of them did. Oh, the doubles from your boys. Well, look at Pilar. He hit with his strikeout props with
Yeah,
Soroka
wow.
and Glasnow. Good for him.
for him.
Glasnow's been awesome so far this year.
Yeah.
Put 8 good innings together. Yesterday, I know he didn't get the help, but he's been great. And then Kratz lost. Okay, flip it. Money bags heading into today here. Well, Todd, Father, we don't have you on the board
What
because
the heck here?
you weren't participating.
Doesn't matter. I should have been
yesterday.
up there. I'm up the most money. What are we doing
Man,
here?
Kratz
What
having a tough
Kratz?
year.
Tough year? No. It's been a tough foul territory. I tell him that. This is year 4, and the guy's never won before. So.
I wonder if there's anybody out there fading him. Betting the opposite.
Oh, I hope so.
Please,
Yeah.
Lord.
Especially at the beginning of the years when he is a slow starter, just like there's some major leaguers. He always starts off slow. Todd Father's up $1,040. So you can
Yeah.
start it off tonight.
Well, my last bet was my 5-star. Remember, I hit that real.
You
The
nailed it.
Dodgers Mets. I said -1.5. I did 1,000 on that one. That was my 5-star, and I might have 2 or 3 more of those during the year,
Mhm.
maybe. But my 5 stars usually hit. I'm going here lightly. 360 to win 300. I think the Rockies are going to cover +1.5. So the Rockies are getting a run right now. They're playing the Mets at home. Listen, the Rockies they're fighters. They're fighting, and I think honestly they got Lorenzen coming back to the East Coast. I think he's going to do great. He's not going to overpower you. Ground ball machine, that kind of guy. I think they'll keep it close. Could be a 1-run game. I'm going, minus, what is that, 120? So 360 to win 300. Rockies +1 and a hook.
All right. So, again, if Rockies fall by a run tonight, you still hit.
Yes.
You haven't done that one very often
No,
before.
I haven't. No, minimal. Maybe
Yeah.
2. Maybe I can count 2 on my hand.
But you bought yourself a run there
yes.
versus the money line for the Rocks, which was +185. You don't want to get hooked.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Strip, what are you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm sticking here in town. Blue chip Yankees coming to Houston, where I live. They're -1.5, so I'm taking them at +105 for that. So 100 to win 105, so a little plus money. I think the Yankees can win by 2. They've given up only 3 runs in the last 4 games, and they got Warren on the bump. He's 2-0 versus McCullers, who I love seeing back out there flipping in those curveballs, but just kind of getting his feet wet back after a lot of time off. Facing a tough lineup and a hot team, I think the Yankees can win by 2 here in Houston.
It's a numbers guy. So this is what Kratzy does. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but Kratzy always brings the numbers. Sometimes you got to go with feel and you got to go with your gut. I'm just trying to let you know about feel, riding the wave. He hasn't heard that yet. You got to ride it, right, Scott?
Oh, yeah.
In my defense, I've never bet on baseball, and I still don't think I'm allowed to. So just looking up these numbers stressed me out. My heart rate was probably, I was like, I'm not supposed to be looking at whatever this page is.
You don't want to be wrong.
It's not real. You're good.
Yeah, you're good. Pap, rare outing for him where he's not delivering a blessing of a video. But he did give us a pick. So he wants the Mariners run line tonight over the Cardinals. That's what he's going with, to see if Seattle can get themselves going on the road against the St. Louis team that's been pretty feisty.
Effective.
I mean, you know what? Yeah, they've been
pleasantly effective.
Yeah, they're 14-10 tonight. It is Kirby pitching tonight against Andre Palante. So
score runs.
Yeah, he thinks they're going to put some runs up. We'll see. It's +115 for Seattle on the run line. A lot of run lines tonight. I'm actually rounding it out with a run line too. I'll take the Tigers by 2 or more run line this evening with Framber Valdez matching up against Andrew Abbott. Abbott was great last year. So far, not off to as good of a start. Seems like maybe the league's got a little bit on him. 5.24 ERA. We'll see if he rebounds. But I also, as much as I like the Reds, it's the pitching that I like. I'm still quite concerned about the hitting, and they'll go up against some pretty good Tigers pitching. So I'm going to see if Fromber does his thing. Tigers have been swinging the bats pretty well. They had the nice walk-off win with Torkelson over Milwaukee. So I'll take that one. We can show the picks on the board. All 4 of them lined up for you. Good luck this evening. And
look at those. That's a first.
All 1.5 he's on the board. I like that. If your home run bet comes up short, you get a MLB No Sweat home run token. That'll help you out. You can activate the token when you bet on any player to hit a home run in any MLB game. If that player doesn't do it, doesn't hit the homer, you get your stake back in bonus bets. Keep the action in scoring position with BetMGM. Gambling problem or concern, there's help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we're back. We're going to get ready for our next interview coming up in just a second. We're getting ready for Drew Gilbert of the San Francisco Giants, who's going to join us. Oh, okay. So I think he's ready to go. We'll get him started. Yeah, let's talk Giants with Drew Gilbert joining us right now. And Drew, we need one flip of the camera.
I like it. I like it.
You want it? You want it to stay that way?
You got to flip it, bud.
That might be his style. There it is.
That was awesome.
One flip. Perfect. Drew, great to have you on, man. Thanks for joining us. How's life right now? Oh, wait. Now we got
we're muted
too. All right. We got the double whammy. We need that voice. Let's get those pipes going.
I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
There we got you now. We got you now.
Okay.
You're good to go.
Awesome.
All right. So
yeah.
I'll re-rack it. Drew, how's life, man? You liking it?
All good. All good. Appreciate you guys having me. Excited to be on the show. But yeah, all good. Just got a couple series of wins back to back, and looking forward to keeping it rolling, hopefully.
What's changed? What looks good over the past week that you didn't see in the first few weeks, or that the team didn't see in the first few weeks, I should say?
Sure. I mean, a little bit for me. I don't know the answer to that. I was in AAA to start the year. I think part of it too is just the kind of the flow of the season. I think everybody gets a little hyped up about a good or a bad start. Obviously, in a perfect world, you want to get off to a great start, but that's not baseball as we know. So I think it's just kind of the flow of the season. We know we got a good roster and a good team, and a lot of veterans that have been around a while, and they know not to get too high or too low, and kind of just keep working and keep your head down. And I think you're kind of seeing that now.
Drew, Ross Stripling, nice to meet you, man. I was a Giant a couple years before you in a past regime. Where are you living, man? San Francisco, kind of a funny city to get acclimated to. Are you just across the street at the hotel, or you find a spot already?
So I'm actually out. I'm out across the bay over in Lafayette. Right now, I spent a little time last year at the hotel across the street when I got called up, so I know that all too well. But I'm over the bay right now, which is kind of nice, just to be a little separated from the city. A little bit of a drive though, but I guess that's okay.
Yeah, that Bay Bridge can be rough, man. We did Lafayette too. Sure. We loved it. How about let's get right into it, man. Tony and you played for him in college, and now he's your guy in the big leagues. I guess my question, I know we're going to get all the way into it, but my question is what, from your time at Tennessee with him, where he's recruiting, he's got young men under his belt, and he's trying to turn kids into men and put them out into the real world, and now flip it to coaching a major league team. What did you see from him from your time at Tennessee that you knew that he had the skill set to take on the role that he has now?
I think he just has a really adaptable personality. I think he can kind of mesh and click along with like a bunch of different groups of people or types of personalities. And I think that's kind of what helped him in recruiting so much. But it's genuine, so it doesn't ever feel like fake or forced. It's just kind of like he can just vibe with anyone and, kind of mix in with whatever group. So, when I knew that it was a possibility that he might, be up for the job, it made all the sense in my mind, and I had total confidence he can do it.
We'll jump back to him, but I want to talk a little outfield real quick. San Fran, it's a different kind of outfield, plays pretty big. I know you play all three different positions, center field. I think you're at center field now for the most part, if I'm not mistaken. How has practice been out there? How have you adjusted to that outfield, especially when that ball goes in the right center field gap?
Yeah, it's it's unique. I think the biggest thing is just the wind. There's not really a predictable pattern with it. There's not necessarily like flags you can look at and know, okay, the wind's blowing this direction today or this direction. It's you kind of just got to keep your feet moving the whole time. Even if you think you're camped, you just got to kind of stay ready for the ball potentially, blow one way or the other. And then, I think there's certain times, whether it's like a 6:45 game where you get certain shadows that make it a little tough to see out there. But I mean, again, that's not just for us; it's for the opponent too. So you try to, make it your home field advantage and get as many reps there as you possibly can. But I think, at the end of the day, like you also try not to like overthink it, because I know a lot of people make it out to be like the, crazy with the right field wall or the triples alley. But I can only cover so much ground. So you just try to roll with the punches and catch as many balls as you can.
Hey, Drew, getting back to Tony a little bit here. How about, have you noticed that he is still himself and has been from the jump? Like I'm a little bit different right now than I am around my friends. You kind of like ebb and flow based on the room or who you're around and what you think you need to do or what you think people think of you. Have you noticed Tony has the ability to stay himself, or has it been an adjustment for him? I feel like we're starting to see more edge come out from him, which we know and are accustomed to seeing from him as he's now 25 games into his tenure. Maybe behind the scenes, have you seen that from the start, or has it been an adjustment for him?
Yeah, I think, I think he's been himself, to be honest with you. I think there are like little adjustments that he makes along the way that, he could answer better than I could, just from like an observational standpoint. But as far as like personality, he's been the exact same. He's always been an intense guy, and I think that's a big reason why he got hired. So there's no reason for him to change that. But I think, you don't know what you don't know. So like there would be no reason for him, like coming into the job to not be himself. And then as the season goes, he learns things that you can only learn as you go. And, he makes small adjustments here and there, but that's the game of baseball, whether you're, a manager, a player, you're someone in the front office. It's just a game of adjustments. So he's good at that. And I think the biggest thing, though, is he's just been himself, which I think all the guys appreciate.
It's been fun to cover him so far, in the beginning of his tenure here, since we're mostly covering the major leagues. Our Baseball America show handles a lot of the college game. What is the all-time Tony Vitello quote that stands out to you? Whether it's something that, he says around the team or something that you've seen him say publicly. He's already given us like 20 since he started in the big leagues, but I know he's been doing this for years. He does all the cultural references too, right?
Sure. See, I'm a little, I don't know if I'm so used to it at this point. I've just been with them for so long that like, I don't want to say I'm numb to it, but like, well, give me an example of like a quote that caught you guys. You're like, oh, that's a good one. And then maybe it's something to come to my head.
Okay. So like he'll bring up modern references, right? Just in the past few weeks, who has he brought up? He did a Kanye reference.
Okay.
He did was it a football reference? Like anything that's like the story of the week,
Sure.
He'll just bring it up, right? And like somehow like he'll mix that into the conversation. I would say he's also just like very candid, where it's like, oh yeah, there was something going on, but we've had a couple of those things behind the scenes, and it's whatever. Like, oh, the ball boy, where he said something and then he clarified it. Like he's very who he is. And it's just like, yeah, like the ball boy was being slow. It is what it is. Like, I agree with him. I like what he says. So we're getting some sentiments too. Kobe and MJ references after beating the Dodgers, right? Which just happened. So it's like every series we get something that relates to another sport or music or something else.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it, man. I mean, like he does it every day, and I'm so used to it that I don't have anything specifically that comes out of my mind. At least anything I could say on TV. But yeah, he's so good at it. Like he has a way with words that's kind of hard to like explain. But he does a good job like with that in terms of like being able to communicate with the team. And even like going back to college, like being able to motivate. So I think it's kind of a gift he has, and I'm glad I get to hear it every day.
Hey, question for you, because I think this relates to what you've done so far in the big leagues in terms of bringing energy and a lot of fun and standing out, right? We showed a couple pictures of the guys hanging with you in the clubhouse and you getting all psyched up for games. Does some of that come from like the college vibe of, more energy, less kind of concerned about what's going on and just being yourself and hoping that if you're a genuine part of yourself, people like you and it will motivate the team? So, because Tony's, I think, trying to do that and be like, hey, I'm going to be myself and I'm coming from a different world. I feel like you do that too by hitting the right tone. Like guys are excited to have Drew Gilbert get called up and get the energy out on the field, but also get fired up in the clubhouse together.
Sure. Yeah. I think, like you want guys, like no matter if it's talking about me or, someone else, like you want guys that you want to play with or be around on a day-to-day basis, just because, I mean, you guys know, like you spend 10 hours at the field every single day, so you got to have a clubhouse of like good people and good dudes that you want to be around. Obviously, some of it's a little crazy, but I think, like you get in the latter parts of the year, like August, September, like it can be tough or more of a grind, showing up every day. So I think the more you can make it fun and kind of spice things up, I think at the end of the day, you're going to have a better team. And if you've got a group of guys that want to be around each other and then you got some talent mixed in there, you could definitely have something there.
I think that's impressive, Drew, because, kind of looking at your trajectory so far as a professional baseball player, hasn't been that long, yet you find yourself in your third organization, but able to bring that energy and be yourself. I know and can attest Matt Chapman helps with that. That dude's a maniac. I'm sure he's taken you under his wing in a couple different ways and lets you be like that. But how about, now in your third organization, nice to have a familiar face like Tony, but like, do you feel like you're able to, does this one feel like home? Does this one feel like, obviously anything can happen, this one feel like, hopefully where you can put down some roots here for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be nice considering, like you said, it's my third organization in like 4 years. So, and yeah, I think for sure, just, when you have your former college coach, it almost does feel like that a little bit. But you do understand like it's a business and anything could happen. But I guess, the goal is to, be good enough or make them like you enough or they don't want to get rid of you. So, yeah, that'd be awesome. And, I've enjoyed my time here at the Giants. Also grateful for the time I spent with the Mets and the Astros. Those two organizations are great to me. And, I've been around a ton of people that have helped me get to this point. So, excited to keep it rolling with the Giants and hopefully here for a while.
Definitely. I want to go back to the other day. Logan Webb, Dalton rushing, had that little thing going on, and he threw a pitch. Logan Webb hit him, and then rushing with the quote, "Hey, man, listen, I'll take my base." Kind of tipped his cap, a little angry, man. What is your thoughts about that whole situation? I know you're young to it. I'm sure you've seen it in college, but it's different in the big leagues a little bit now. Everything gets blown up a little bit more, right?
Sure. Yeah. I'm still new to this, the whole thing where, so I don't even know what's going on half the time. Dalton rushing, he's a good young player. I think he went to Louisville and I think we were the same draft class. Obviously he's having a hell of a year. So, I don't necessarily know what goes on, with a lot of those decisions or things. Obviously Webby's a great teammate and, he's always standing up for the team. And, I don't know. I have no idea what goes on with that stuff. I just try to do my job in the outfield.
That's fair. Hey, is your energy level like this in everything that you do? Like, if you played pickup basketball in the past or just any kind of game with your friends growing up, would you be the guy that's like super fired up and always extra competitive? Were you known to be like that in basically anything that involved winning?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think it's just kind of who I am. I like to win. I like it. If it's something I get into, then for sure, I like to win. So there's been plenty of ping pong paddles that have been broken or PS5 controllers that have been smashed in the process, maybe. But yeah, it's just kind of been who I am. I don't know who I got it from, but it's just even since I was really young, I've just been like this.
I don't want to make you talk anymore about the rushing and Webb stuff. I know young guy doesn't want to go viral on X for saying anything. How about just being a part of the rivalry? I was a Dodger and a Giant. I got to see it from both sides. Now you just had a pretty fun 3-game set against them, won the series. You got another one coming up in Dodger Stadium. How do you feel about the rivalry and maybe how it compares to any that you've had in college and now on a big league level?
Yeah, it's really cool, man. Especially these last 3 games, playing them at home with packed crowds. It's cool, especially when you have a Dodgers team that's been doing what they've been doing. It just kind of heightens the environment, right? And it's a good challenge for us. You want to go against the best, and I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. They've been the best the last 2 years. So it's cool. I think it's also a good test to not. I think you can always kind of hype yourself up a little bit or psych yourself out a little bit too much and put an opponent on a pedestal, more than you should, right? Whereas it's the big leagues and anybody can beat anybody on any given night. So I think it's a good test for us, and obviously we'll see them more throughout the year, considering that they're in our division. But it's an awesome rivalry, and I'm looking forward to being a part of it more.
Hey, Drew, last one for you. What do you do for fun? What do you do if you have an off day or in the off season once you're done with the workouts and the whole deal? Like, what are the hobbies?
Well, right now I have a 6-month-old mini Bernedoodle puppy. His name is Bruce, and he is absolutely insane. So he occupies about every single minute of my free time. So that's the only hobby I have right now. I used to play a little Fortnite, maybe get on video games, play some Call of Duty, but haven't really been on recently. Just try not to get my arm ripped off by my little puppy.
That's fair. Yeah, you training him tricks? Are you gonna bring tricks to him, or what?
He knows like the base, like sit,
Okay.
lay down, roll over. Like he's pretty good on the leash and everything, but he just has so much energy. Like at all times, there's no napping. He doesn't want to nap. None of that. Like it could be 11:30 at night, and I get home from the field, and I mean he's ready to roll. So it's a lot.
It is. Yeah, right. It's like a little kid, nonstop energy. Yep, the kid will be sleeping if you get home at 11:30. This guy's rolling. Right. Sometimes that's true. Well, Drew, really enjoyed the combo. Great having you on. Appreciate the time, man. Keep doing your thing. Good luck.
All right, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. That's Drew Gilbert from the Giants. And also, of course, we have our Giant show. So Splash Hit Territory is there for you, too. Drew actually did an interview on that show with Susan Slusser and FP Santangelo. There it is. Logan Webb on that show over the offseason. So plenty to get into. It's one of the hottest shows in the market out there in San Francisco. Of course, part of the FT network. But yeah, fun times with Drew. He's fun to watch with the shots that they do in the dugout. We showed a couple of the photos, but he is one of the most fired up players in the dugout when he came up last year. Just like, that's what I was trying to ask about Strip, was like the college energy, that he brings to the table. So anyway, all right, we got Ken ready to go. So let's do it. Here comes Ken Rosenthal with the Inside Scoop. You've got Strip and Todd Father today, Ken. Good to see you. And we've got a big Cubs-Dodgers series coming up this weekend, as big as it can get for late April. Let's go right to your column. I read it. I loved it. I thought it was super interesting to dive into the Shohei Ohtani rule. Can you lay it out, and then we'll do some follow-ups?
Yes, there's been a lot of confusion about this, and that's why I decided to write about it. Obviously, there are rules in effect that apply only to Shohei Ohtani in the game. One of them enables his team, which happens to be the Dodgers, but previously was the Angels, when this rule was first put into effect, to carry an extra pitcher. He counts not against the 13-person limit, 13-pitcher limit. He effectively becomes a 14th pitcher. That's one rule. The other rule, which is once he leaves the game as a starting pitcher, he can remain as a hitter. Now, these rules, again, were put into effect. The first one in 2019 didn't really apply till 2022, and the second one in 2022. He was an angel back then. So this isn't like MLB giving the Dodgers a gift. The Dodgers paid for that gift when they signed Ohtani as a free agent. And as I wrote, every team knew that they'd get that advantage of a 14th pitcher if they signed him. And that was one of the appeals of Ohtani beyond even what he can do as a hitter and a pitcher. It was an outsized impact because of these rules that were in place, especially the one with the roster. So you saw Craig Counsell last week come out and say that this is bizarre, that this only applies to one team. And I spoke with a head of baseball operations who said the two rules combined make for the most lopsided advantage in the four major professional sports. It's debatable. Not everyone in the game feels that way. And it's just one of these things that teams, some of them express concern about, but other people say it's fine and it's just the way it is. And we all had a chance to sign Ohtani. The Dodgers happened to actually do it.
So on this whole subject here, I'm just trying to get the whole explanation so everybody can understand. He pitches, he hits when he pitches, because I saw the one time he faced the Mets, he didn't even hit that game. Like, so are they trying to loosen up his load on hitting and pitching, or are they trying to take full advantage of this whole thing? Because I see sometimes he hits when he pitches and sometimes he doesn't.
That was a one-time exception, Todd, for the most part. They might do it again, but remember he had gotten hit in the shoulder, the right shoulder, and they just decided, you know what, don't hit this day. But pretty much every other time we've seen him pitch, he has hit. And the rule is once he is removed from the game, he can remain in the game as a designated hitter. Now, one other point I should mention, that rule was put into effect and it was agreed upon by Major League Baseball and the Players Association, both parties. They put it into effect in order to encourage teams to develop two-way players. That really hasn't happened. We have some guys in the game who were two-way players in college. Jack Caglione, Bryce Eldridge, minor league top prospect for the Giants, and there are others. But teams, for the most part, Nolan McLean being a third, by the way, teams, for the most part, have guided these guys to one path or the other, and the players have taken that path or preferred to take that path because it's quicker to get to the majors doing one thing than both. There's also a physical and mental strain of doing both, and ultimately this comes down to there is one guy on this planet who seems capable of handling all this, and it's Ohtani.
Ken, this seems pretty black and white. I feel like I understand it, but I would imagine the 29 other teams wanted anyone but LA Dodgers to have this advantage, right? Because of their ability. Yes, they have the Mookie and the Freddies of the world, but underlying, they are also a well-oiled machine of analytics and getting an advantage. Look at the kids they got back in like the Dustin May trade that apparently have, going to hit 65 homers in AAA, whatever that kid's name is. The Dodgers are good at everything from A to Z. Is it as black as white as any other team would be able to take advantage of it as good as the Dodgers, or are the Dodgers even more well-equipped to take advantage of the Shohei rule than others?
They're maybe more well-equipped simply because of the depth that they always seem to have. So them having an extra pitcher, playing 14 against 13, is always going to be an advantage. And because they are so good and so deep, that maybe it is more of an advantage for them. But again, the one thing I'll say is the Royals can do this with Caglione. The Giants can do it with Eldridge. The Mets could have done it with McLean. And these teams, for whatever reason, and the players, for whatever reason, are choosing not to. So while it is kind of rubbing fans the wrong way, some fans the wrong way, that the Dodgers get this advantage, it is not simply for them. Other teams can use it too. They simply have not been either able to or have had the opportunity to for whatever reasons.
Yeah, Ken, the part of the article, like you mentioned with the high profile examples and how many two-way players were drafted from 2021 to 2025, 22 of them, just none making it, makes me, I guess, rebel in me want to see someone like Michael Lorenzen actually get that chance with a Rockies team that can then get a little bit more on a trade, right? Because theoretically, if they did this, and Lorenzen is probably one of the few guys that could pull this off, if he gets either 20 starts as DH, problem is you need to log like 60 plate appearances. It's not 20. It's a good chunk of plate appearances if he's doing that. But then if he gets moved to a team, that team now gets to basically have another pitcher on their roster.
Right. And when Lorenzen was a free agent, not this time, Scott, but a year ago, that was part of his appeal. It didn't work out that way. He didn't sign under those conditions. But you mentioned something that is worth raising here, and it is the qualifications that a player must have to become a two-way player, to get that status. And as you said, it's the 20 innings pitched and the 20 games started as a position player or DH, 3 plate appearances per game in either the current season or one of the previous 2. That's hard to attain. And it's hard to do that with a player in the big leagues. For instance, Lorenzen. If you're the Rockies, you'd have to give him 60 plate appearances, 20 starts over the course of however many games, 20, obviously, and you're trying to win. The Rockies are trying to get better, like every team. They're trying to win. So it's difficult. But if you developed a player that way, then you could ease him into this kind of thing and have him qualify. So again, the idea of it was not necessarily just to benefit Shohei Ohtani. It was to benefit any other player who wanted to be a two-way guy. And the initial intent was, or at least the initial hope was, that this would spur this kind of thing. And it just hasn't happened.
2 more layers here. One, and I'll speak for my brethren, Kratz and AJ. I know they would ask you this. Well, then, Ken, why did they change the rule to make it a 2-year qualification instead of 1 when Ohtani was coming back from the surgery, right? That is a fair part of the equation to say, hey, this was catered to Shohei. And I'll mix in my other question to this one so we get both done in one shot. I know there are some in the game that don't like the way game by game Ohtani affects things, where he can pitch and then he's done pitching and that doesn't affect the lineup card. My answer as a fan, especially to that part, is I want to see the best player in the world pitch and hit, and I don't want it to mess things up. I know you can still do that and lose the DH, whatever, but it gets pretty complicated if you didn't draw it up this way for two-way players.
Absolutely. And it's 2 things here. Scott, as you mentioned, was this rule, as AJ or Eric would ask, hey man, wasn't this meant for Ohtani? Yes, of course it was created for Ohtani. We all know that. But the idea was maybe we can have another Ohtani or 2 more Ohtanis or 5 more. Hasn't happened. Now, as for the idea of having him remain in the game as a hitter after he's done pitching, yes, we do all want to see the best player in the world. And there was a manager who told me he doesn't like that aspect of it because no other position player can be removed from a game and then, of course, continue to hit. But that part of it to me is something that you're doing for the fans as well. And it's just something that benefits the game overall. Does it give the Dodgers an advantage? Yes. It gave the Angels an advantage when this rule was originally put in, and the Angels weren't smart enough to keep this guy. So that's the rub here. And I know because the Dodgers seem to possess every advantage in this game, we all know that it does tick people off and it makes people think, oh, here we go again. But that wasn't the original plan because he was with the Angels at the time, and it wasn't the intent either.
Changing gears a little bit, Ken, we started the show in the NL East, and we're going to, I guess, close the show here as well. It's low-hanging fruit, talking Philly Mets struggles. We saw your social video talking about them. You've been around the game longer than me. You've studied it much more in depth than me. I guess at what point, 25 games in, at what point do you press a panic button? Or at what point is there to no return? Red Sox can be thrown in this bucket as well. We saw Cora's quote about losing earlier in the show as well. I guess, there's veteran presence all up and down all 3 of those teams. Who do you see turning it around? Who do you see falling back? And at what point is it blow the whole thing up?
Russ, it's a great question. And it's different in every case. Usually in the past, 40 games was kind of the first checkpoint you would see. But with the Mets, for instance, now the Lindor injury changes things, but if they cannot on this homestand prevail or get like a 6-3 record against the Twins, Rockies, and Nationals, then you would think, yes, might be something done with the manager, something entirely different. I don't know, but it most likely would be the manager. That's who it always is. Now, with Lindor being hurt, it seems to me that should give Carlos Mendoza even more grace. And the last 2 nights have been better for them. Bichette got the big hit last night. Maybe they'll snap out of it. Ultimately, their pitching is still a huge question beyond Holmes, Peralta, and McLean. I don't know where that's going. Now, the Phillies are obviously going through it right now too, and they've lost however many games in a row. That's an interesting question too, because there again, and the Red Sox fall into this too, the greater blame in each case, most of us would agree, falls with the front office, with the head of baseball operations for putting these teams together the way that those guys have. And I'm sure those heads of baseball operations, David Stearns, David Dombrowski, and Craig Breslow, want this to play out a little bit more, obviously, to make themselves look better if things do turn around, and just overall, they need to see more of a sample. That's fair. And that should happen, actually, in each case, especially with Philadelphia in some respects, because they are such a veteran group. Now, Boston, they are not such a veteran group. And my concern with them all along, after losing Bregman on top of trading Devers, was they lacked that presence that kind of would take the pressure off their younger players. Now, Wilson Contreras does that to an extent. Trevor Story is decline phase of his career. He's a good leader, but he's not the guy. Bregman was the guy. And if not Bregman, then maybe Pete Alonso, maybe someone else. But they, in my opinion, ask too much of their young players, Roman Anthony specifically, coming into this season, and we're seeing that play out in their offense. Now, if they pitch as well as they think they're going to pitch, and Tolley was really good last night in place of Sonny Gray, then maybe they get to where they want to be. But I have never liked where they were going into the season offensively, and that was a question. We had questions with the Mets. We had questions with the Phillies too. So far, at least, they all seem to be playing out in the negative. We'll see if it continues.
Hey, Ken, I'll get to a team on the other side of the spectrum. The Cubs have dealt with a ton of arm injuries, right? They're missing starters. They're missing a ton of relievers lately, and you're about to cover that game, the Saturday one for Fox with the Dodgers and the Cubs. We're excited about it. We hit the whole PCA storyline earlier in the show. So paint the picture here. We know what's going on with the Dodgers. I think we need to give more love to a Cubs team that's off to a nice start. The only thing is they look back and they're like, the entire division is playing well. This is going to be a fight.
I don't want to dampen Cubs fans' enthusiasm, but I think they know this. They caught the Mets and the Phillies when both those teams were playing at their absolute poorest. So this will be a much different test for them, obviously. And yes, they have had a ton of injuries, especially in the bullpen. I believe it's 5 relievers now on the injured list. Where they are strong is their offensive depth. This is a lineup that is pretty much deeper than Cubs lineups in the recent past. Bregman helps, certainly, with that. And Horner is at the top of his game right now. They are just kind of a dynamic group, able to do a lot of different things. Now, the Central, and this is maybe the biggest surprise of the season, is a much different animal than most of us thought it would be. The Pirates are better. How much better? I don't know, but they're better. The Reds are playing really well. They're doing it without Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo and some offensive players as well. I don't know that I trust them as much as I probably should because of the way they've played. They've got a great manager in Francona, but at the same time, you can take nothing away from them. They have done this while not even really hitting. It's Dela Cruz and it's Sal Stewart, and that's about it offensively. So that division, and of course we cannot forget the Brewers, and of course we can't even forget the Cardinals, who have played much better than everyone thought they would. That division has gotten really interesting. Now, how interesting it stays, I don't know, because you don't know if these teams will sustain what they've accomplished in the first part of the season, but it's making for a quite competitive group. And something that's going to be fascinating as we have the season play out.
Yeah, and it wasn't looked at that way heading into the season. No one's like, oh, look at the juggernaut National League Central. But at least for a month, it looks that way right now. So, Ken, enjoy the series. It's going to be fun out there, Dodgers and Cubs. We'll watch you on Fox on Saturday, and we'll see you on Fair on Monday.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Ken Rosenthal, Monday, back with Fair Territory. We already had yesterday's show, and they went through a number of questions, so you can look back at that, and they hit some of these teams in depth that we just went over. But then on Monday, you'll get a nice recap of the weekend every Monday morning live with Ken. Let us slap a couple things on the way out. First of all, did you guys see the renderings for the Kansas City ballpark? They're going to move it to a little more action downtown.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to see some photos?
I would love to.
Okay. It looks nice. And there you go.
Wow.
So, I haven't read the whole report on what everything looks like, but the one thing I do notice is I see the blue, and then I see what I would believe to be the gold. Right? Basically the paneling, so they can light up the stadium externally, and it can look blue on top or gold. That's cool.
So this is going to be away from where the Chiefs play.
Correct. Downtown.
Okay. See,
They're moving downtown.
I like it when like Cincinnati has both the football field there, but they made it awesome with restaurants, activity, stuff for little kids to do. There's all different activities. You walking up and down there within a half a mile radius. A kid from 2 years old to 80 years old will have something to do. So I wish Kansas City kind of did that, but where they're at, it's just basically parking lot.
That's the problem. There was nothing there.
There's nothing there. So you couldn't build anything up, but ultimately this looks fantastic, and it's downtown. There's more action.
So they're going to have that, right? They're going to build all around it, or they have a lot around it already too, down at Crown Center.
Action, something like that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, so many teams looking to do this to take advantage of the area.
The Braves have done it recently.
Oh yeah,
Rangers and Cowboys. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I wonder if they beat the Chiefs to it. I wonder how the Chiefs feel about it. I wonder if there's like a race to the area.
Well, I haven't followed the Chiefs storyline as much, but aren't they trying to find a spot in what was the other state trying to recruit?
Yeah, they were going over to Kansas. Yeah, from Missouri into Kansas, I think.
Is it officially? They may move to Kansas, so it's still a threat. We know that game. Right, not official.
Place like home.
Yeah, well, and you use your leverage to try and get as much out of the city as
not
you can.
Official, yeah.
Not official. On the way out here, do we have the Lindor tweet? Just we didn't get that. I know we talked about the Mets a little bit, but the injury itself, I'll mention as we're queuing it up, looks pretty serious. So Soto missed like 2 and change, I want to say.
Yeah,
weeks.
I would say so.
But they said this one's more serious for Lindor. Crazy. Soto comes back, and then Lindor goes down with the calf.
Literally. No, and I think the one I think about is Mike Trout when he had the calf problem. Like, these are very serious. They linger. Every injury is a pain in the butt at the end of the day. But calves, it's the one you go up and down with. It's the first thing you feel when you're moving. Then everything moves up, right, from your leg. I'm using my arm as a reference. But, yeah, this is something where you're going to have to really take your time. And, Ronnie Mauricio is going to have to step up at the end of the day. So we'll see how he does.
Bo at short.
How you doing?
There you go.
Why not?
More familiar spot for him.
But with Anthony DeComo said that Ronnie was going to get more.
Ronnie's coming up. Yeah, he just got called up. So, yeah, he's going to get a long run at shortstop, right, to prove himself in Lindor's absence. So I guess not. Yeah, Bo, they'll just let him keep learning third base.
Hey, put him in the fire. What do you got to lose right now?
That's true. Yeah, but tough loss for the Mets there with Lindor going down. I remember, Ross, when Soto got hurt, I think he was like, the next day kind of feeling better. Yeah. And then he sat again. And I'm like, no way. We just covering the game for too long. You see the guys with the calf injuries, and they're like, maybe I can play. And then they start testing it on the field, and they're like, no.
Never had that bad. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just with you, Todd, on the calf stuff, and it doesn't seem to be showing his head as much in baseball. But if you look across like some of these basketball and NFL guys, that calf leads to Achilles or knee stuff and things. It's just not. it's not one you mess with. It used to be like an old man injury, a calf led to Achilles. Now we got Jason Tatum in his prime tearing his Achilles in Game 7 of NBA playoffs. It's just it's not one of those that's worth pressing. You got to get it all the way right before you even think about getting him back out there.
Last thing on the way out, we have Junior Caminero
hitting missiles
way out with the club.
I think I need to learn from him because
that's Top Golf.
Yeah, he's using an iron there, but my driver, I should come back too because I hook it.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to get behind the golf ball a little bit. See, he's not even on the turf. His 1 foot.
That's amazing. Where he's hitting the ball from is insane.
Right, he's not even standing on the turf. He's behind it.
Changing the game.
Yeah.
One Top Golf swing at a time.
That thing looked like it went a mile.
Getting guys like him or like a Mike Trout who hits it over the thing, it's a spectacle to see.
Yeah, we're going to see more of it with Trout. His course just opened up.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, going to get a lot of phone calls over the next few.
I went last year. The last day had it, and it was only like 25% done.
Yeah. It just hit a hundo, I think.
It was
I think it just hit that point this week. I saw him tweet it out.
A video. It looks great.
We will get Todd to do a show from there at some point. We'll do our best. Strip, good stuff, man. Hope you had fun, dude.
Yeah, always fun, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, good to see you. Happy Friday to everyone. We'll see you on Monday.